Hello guys, welcome back. This is just going to be a follow-up video from my last one, the Ancestry.com. I've been researching the genetics for a week or two, get away from this flat earth nonsense. And some interesting stuff I've got to say. The Ancestry.com, I was a wee bit disappointed with that one. It came back 97% European, 3% West Asian, and then a couple of zones, the Caucasus and Iberia, and they weren't sure, and I just thought it was a bit broad. It was like 50% Irish, 38% British, 9% French or Western Europe, and the other little bits here and there. But what annoyed me was that it wasn't 100% European, because I've watched other Ancestry DNA videos, and the Irish ones as well, and I even seen a lassie, she came back something like 90% Irish. It's like, because she's so inbred, but she didn't look inbred. And I've seen a lot of people come back 100% European, Americans, and it just annoyed me. Why am I 97% European? What's that other 3%? And Ancestry.com doesn't really elaborate or go into specifics about where that 3% is, and it was kind of disappointing. But what I discovered is that you can take your raw data from Ancestry.com and you can put it in a GEDmatch. Coincidence, GEDmatch. It's like synchronicity, yeah. But you put the raw data in a GEDmatch, and they have, I think it's over 40 calculators, different genealogists with different calculators and different time frames. Some of them go back to the hunter-gatherer times and the early European farmers or Neolithic. Other ones are just trying to trace if there's any African, what parts of African are in you. But it's really good, and I advise anyone who has done Ancestry.com to get the raw data and put in a GEDmatch, because it's a lot more specific. And there's a lot more little clues to where your ancestry comes from. Now, I'm interested in genetics and ancestry. It's something it's always fascinated me, especially when I look at people's faces and you see certain features and you just wonder where they got their nose from or where their eyes are from. Everyone's got the same elbows. We all came from the same place originally, but you pick up genes along the way that make you who you are, and even characteristics, even your personality. I think you can carry genetic traits from ancestors that can make you who you are personality-wise. So it's interesting to me, it is. And diseases, things like diseases, there's things like MS. It's like a white man's, it's like a European disease. So genetics is a new science, but it's a really interesting one. In crime, obviously, with crime, or even finding long lost relatives, finding out who your real parents are. Genetics and DNA is quite important in this day and age, I think, especially nowadays when you've got this whole trans everything's trans, everybody is the same, and it's good to know where your roots are and what you've picked up along the way and who makes you who you are, and you can tell your kids this. I just think it's really important. You can't really go with the family tree stuff, because anyone could have jumped in anywhere in the family tree, really. You're just carrying on a name. The names can change. Like I said, your great-great-great-granddad could have been at war, and there could have been somebody else stepping into the family tree. You never know. You never know. So DNA is the best way, I think, to find out who you really are. So I decided to go for the Ancestry.com. Like I said, I was expecting to be Celtic, Scottish, Irish, whatever it is. And there was a big chunk of it there. And British, fair enough. Again, you can't live so close to a population, not mix genes. So I expected British as well, and even the French I expected. But the West Asia, the 3%, the West Asia was a baffling one. But it wasn't so baffling, because there's been a few hints in the past through history that the Scots people came from Scythia. And this is why I keep finding a lot of Caucasian in my genetics. But anyway, guys, we'll have a look. That might be another video, to be honest with you, like find out where the Scots originally came from, because I've done a lot of research into that as well. Because the Scots, they came as a Celtic tribe, but there was people already in Britain. The Picts were already here, and they were Celtic as well. So you have these waves of immigration of Celts, different Celts battling Celts. It's interesting stuff. It is. It's really interesting stuff. So anyway, I'll share some data with you. Right, guys. So this is what I got back from Ancestry.com. I got 53% Irish, 34% British, 9% Europe West, which covers Belgium, France, Germany. So it's really broad, guys. Like Ireland covers Ireland, Wales, and Scotland. So that 53% could be not Irish, but Scotch, just Celtic, or the Welsh. I think it's a Celtic gene they're going for here. The Great Britain is England, Scotland, Wales. It's broad. You're just missing out one country, really. So they're practically the same. And Europe West, Belgium, France, Germany, Netherlands, Switzerland, Luxembourg, Liechtenstein. And you see the green bubble. It covers lower Britain as well. So, and it covers upper Spain. So it's really broad. So I was thinking, right, I'm 97% European. Fair enough. I can understand this. This makes sense. Even the Iberian part, the 1% Iberian, this is Spain, Portugal, that kind of. But it was low confidence, so they're not sure. But there's something there kicking about. In the West Asia, this is the one that baffles me a wee bit, but doesn't at the same time. The Caucasus, which is Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia, Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. But this might be just the farming gene. I think European farmers started in this area, and this is who brought farming to the British Isles, was people from this Indo-European area. So this is what I think my genetics are picking up on. But I found quite a few Brits as well that don't have this 3%. Anyway, guys, I took this data and put it into GEDmatch. This is GEDmatch here. So raw DNA file uploads. You can put your raw data, analyze your data, DNA raw data. So you get your data, guys, and you put it into this website, and it takes about a day for them to go over it. But same again, it matches you up with people. And Ancestry.com, I got matched up with a second cousin. First or second cousin, it said. So I contacted this guy who's meant to be my second cousin, and he was just so dry. I was like, all right, man, we could be second cousins. What side is it from? And he was like, I'm in Ireland. I'm not sure. And I was like, here, man, is it, do you recognize the name Wolf, Ireland? Like, I'm half Irish, my dad was Irish, so could it be that connection? And I've never had a reply. You'd think someone that's just found like a really close relative would be more enthusiastic about someone contacting them, but this person was so dry, and I'm starting to think, is this Ancestry.com just putting fake relatives there, sitting there just to keep you? It's all about the money with a lot of these companies. Ancestry.com, it's they keep sending you emails to buy this or buy a hint. There might be a hint that someone in your family tree, and it's a big money making thing after they give you results. Because I think a second cousin should be a bit more enthusiastic. He doesn't have to meet me, God. Anyway, this has got a similar thing where they match you up with people. Put your kit number in. And there we have it. This is everybody that's on the GEDmatch database that matches up with you. And this is the closest guy, this Thomas Maloney. This guy's only 3.8 generations, so he's like a third cousin, something like that. They've put their haplo blood groups in, different haplogroups. But it's interesting stuff, guys. It is. It's interesting stuff. Also on the GEDmatch, you can... are your parents related? This is pretty cool. So you put your kit number in. And it tells you here, base pairs with a full match, you get green on the chromosome. Yellow, purple, red. No match is red. So thank God, you can see it's mostly red. And it says at the bottom here, no shared DNA segments found, no indication that your parents are related. I didn't think so either, because my dad was Irish and my mum was Scottish. So, but I would be surprised with a lot of people in Scotland if they're like third cousins or something like that. Anyway, enough of that. This is more of the interesting stuff. This is where you can look at your admixture, your heritage, and you've got different calculators here. The MDLP project. We'll have a quick look at the MDLP. Ask for your kit number, because after you put your raw data into this, it gives you a kit number. I'll say my ethnicity is Scottish, but you could put anything in there. I could put Nigerian in here and it'll still come up with the same results. I just think it's easier for them, for the population, to see if you're closer to the population. So here's the K11 modern admixture. So a big chunk there, Neolithic, 32%, Neolithic. This is like Neolithics, I think it's like near the Stone Age, maybe just after Stone Age, or it's really far back anyway. European hunter-gatherer is a turquoise part, and Western hunter-gatherer. And you've got all the little bits in between. So this is going quite far back, guys. Interesting. It's more interesting than the Ancestry.com version. So there you go here. This is in the Oracle 4. And it tells you the percentage and the population you must match closely. So this is British Celtic, Alberstedt LN, Bell Beaker, Germany. The Bell Beaker, that was a civilization. They were known for their pottery. British Iron Age, Halberstadt, Nordic, Hungary. And the lower the number, the more the closely you match that population. So that's probably the closest, this one. Cordedware, Germany, Hungary, and Poltavka, whatever that is. Have a look at the Eurogenes. There's one called Eurogenes, which is quite good. Put the kit number in. What one you can choose a certain type of Eurogenes. Let's see, V2K15. Let's see what's in this one. You have to wait a few seconds sometimes just to wait for them to calculate it, your data, see what comes up. This one's taking a wee bit longer than usual. So here we see that a good chunk is the North Sea. And that's expected being Scottish, Irish. Atlantic, same again, big chunk, Atlantic being Scottish, Irish. This makes sense. This kind of goes with the whole ancestry. Baltic, there's a nice wee chunk of the Baltic there. Eastern European, West Mediterranean, West Asian, and South Asian. So there's that wee Asian bit kicking up that was in Ancestry.com. But you can hit the oracle and see your closest population match. Well, number one's Irish, and South East English, West Scottish, Orcadian at number 6. That's Orkney. That's up at North Scotland, the Orkney Isles. Orcadian. Same again. They just mix a couple of the populations up. But interesting stuff again, guys. We'll have another Eurogene. You've got the Eurogene hunter-gatherer versus farmer. See how much hunter-gatherer you have compared to the farmer in you, because we all came from the same place, practically. So we'll have a look at the K36 version. Same again, it's taken, I've got a few windows open, mind you, it's maybe affecting the time. Hope you've all had a good 4th of July for my American viewers. So this is really detailed, this one. So we can see here that the standout part is the black chunk. And this is the Iberian part. And this is where you see in Ancestry.com there was a 1% Iberian. But funnily enough, in this one, it's the biggest slice of the pie in the genes. And then Italian, North Atlantic, that's what I expect with the Scottish. North Caucasian, there's a wee green slither. North Sea, so this big chunk here is my Scottish. The Iberian, that's interesting, that's the Spanish Portuguese, but there was Celtic and Gaelic speaking peoples supposedly came up from Iberia. This is where you get the word Hibernian from, apparently. When Ireland was called Hibernian, like Iberia, Hibernian, they were the same place because apparently the Portuguese and the Spanish went up to Ireland. So I can understand why there's a big chunky Iberian DNA there. French, there's a big chunk of the French there. That makes sense. That's European, that'd be Western European. Italian, North Atlantic, North Caucasian, North Sea, South Central Asian, West Caucasian. So you've got a lot of data in this one. This is the K36 Eurogenes. It's probably one of the better ones, to be honest with you. Fennoscandian, Eastern Euro, East Central European, East Balkan, Central European. So there's a good mix there. And this is what you expect. You expect a big mix. When you look at Ancestry.com, you see Irish, British, French, and maybe a little bit of this. It's just, for me, it's not good enough. Like, us sitting here today are the results of our ancestors coming through so much and so many people, so many different ancestors. Each of us have probably got millions of people at the top of our family trees, biological family trees, and they can't all be the same. There must be a good mixture of different peoples and movements of people. Britain was covered in ice, so there must have been people living further south. Right. Will we have a look at another Eurogenes? Nah, we'll just move on to the other one. Right, Dodecad. Let's have a look at Dodecad. What does Dodecad give me? We'll just go for the V3. So, the Dodecad here, obvious massive orange chunk, West European. East European's the red part. So Mediterranean, you could say there's a good quarter there. Mediterranean, 26%. West Asian, this is the Caucasus part that keeps kicking back in. South Asian, Northwest African. There's a wee slithery African there. Oh, see, this is another thing. When I seen Ancestry.com, I thought, how far did they go back if they're not going to get in any African? Because all of us apparently originated in Africa, so we must have some African genes somewhere. And this is a good thing about the GEDmatch. They do find those little traces of genetic African. There's the East is very low though. Like, I'm struggling to get a 1% out of both Africans, Neo-African. So if there is this African DNA inside me, it's very distant. I'll have another look at the dot card. There's Africa. I'll have a look at the World 9. Wow. This was like Pac-Man. So, big chunk. Atlantic, Baltic. Then another chunk of the Caucasus. Southern. I don't know what southern means, if it's just southern. And South Asia. We slip there. So this is the Caucasus region. This is where Ancestry was picking up the 3%. And this part actually. The Caucasus. You'd say the Asian and Caucasus parts. But a big chunk of the Atlantic. This is my Irish, Scottish, British. We'll have a look at the Oracle 4, see what the population matches are. Jesus Christ, number 1, Hungarians. Mixed Germanic, Dutch, German. British comes into number 9. British Isles 12, Irish 13, Orcadian, French, Orkney. So there's some Orkney population that I match. So what's the closest one? They've got 0.9 here. So Romanians plus Argyll. Argyll's in Scotland. So this is the closest they could match me as a mix between Romanian and 3 Argyllians. Good stuff though. Good stuff. Right, try and get through them quickly. Rapa World. Let's have a look at Rapa World. What are they seeing? Paste it there we go. Wait a few seconds. The calculator takes to go through the data. But I recommend that people do this. If you've done Ancestry.com and you're feeling a bit dissatisfied, obtain the raw data. There's plenty of YouTube videos there showing you how to do this, and put it in a GEDmatch, and it gives you a more specific. So here we go. Caucasian again. Balochistan. Caucasian, Northeast European, and Mediterranean. A big chunky Mediterranean there. Let's have a look at the Oracle. So I'm mostly Northeast European, good chunky Mediterranean, a bit of Balochistan, and there's the Caucasian. This is this gene, the Caucasian. This could be the Scythia gene, genetics. The Scots sprung with them. So Utan white, British, Utan white, North European, French, Orcadian, Hungarian, Slovenian. But the number's 5, so it's still quite high. If they use a couple of populations, they can get lower. So French and Utan white. And Utan white is just they've done a test on white people in Utah, I think. And they came up with the same sort of DNA, so I'm matching these people. 3 populations is closer. There's Orcadian, and Tuscan. Number 1 here is French, Orcadian, Serbian. Interesting. Right. Look at the next one. It's Ethiohelix. This is quite a basic one, I think. I think it just Japanese, Palestinian, African only. We'll go for the French because that's mainly European. French means European. French acts as a proxy for European ancestry in this case, right? So we have giant chunk of French, which is just European. We have North Africa, 18.89% North Africa. And we have Omotic, whatever that is. You go and study that, research that one, Omotic. But I thought Omotic was more language rather than a place. Have a look at the Oracle 4. French, 79.58. North African, 18.89. Egypt comes into number 1. Egypt. That must be the North Africa bit. Egypt, French, Egyptians, Libya, Algeria, Morocco, Moroccans, Ethiopian Jews. That's a big number. That's 71. That's miles away. Even this is miles away, 27. Egypt. So the better if they mix the populations up to get the number lower. So the French, Libyan, 8.5. Using 3 populations, French, Sahara, 1.1. French, Sahara. So you see here they're just mixing up the populations to try and get your closest, what you'd match. Aye, but cool. Right. So we've got the punt. This has got lots of options in this. And it goes way back. It goes way back to your hunter-gathering days. What one we'll have a look at? Go for K15. So here, again, a big chunky Mediterranean, something that the Ancestry.com didn't really tell me, but I keep seeing it. And the Caucasian part, and the Mediterranean, Northeast European. So big Northeast European, Mediterranean, Caucasian again. The Caucasian keeps coming up. So that's the 3% in West Asia on Ancestry.com. That's where the 3% is coming from, Caucasian. I think the Iberian part could be related to this as well. So there's Ute White again. South German, Irish, English, Croatian, Orcadian, which is the Orkneys, North Scotland. Slovenian, Austrian, Scottish, North German. So using 2 populations, Scottish and Serbian. Using 3 populations, Irish, French, Serbian. North German, Irish, French, Serbian. Beringian. A Beringian. That must be something to do with the Bering Sea. A Beringian. Northeast European, good chunk. So, although I'm mainly European, there definitely is traces of Asia kicking about there. And a lot of us will have it. But I did notice on YouTube, when people done Ancestry.com, a lot of them had 100% European. It just didn't make sense to me. Oh, shit. What's this? Western hunter-gatherer. That's nearly half. It's 45. Caucasus hunter-gatherer. That's what the light green part is. And ENF is European Neolithic farmer. So this goes back to the old farmer hunter-gatherer times. So more hunter-gatherer than farmer. it looks. And this might be boring to a lot of people, but I find this interesting, really interesting. And when you can trace back the DNA to these places, certain stories in history are more plausible. If you can read in the Declaration of Arbroath, when they were, the Scots people are writing a Declaration of Arbroath, and they're saying that their people came from the Scythians, and you could say, what a lot of crap. Okay, that doesn't make sense. But then when you look at the DNA, maybe 100 Scots, and maybe 80% of them have that Scythian, Caucasus, West Asia sort of genes. It starts to make more sense. It starts to become more plausible. Right, what else have we got in the punt DNA? Right, we'll have a look at the global. So, giant chunk, Northeast Europe, then Oceania, a tiny wee slither, South Asia, wee slither, Southeast Asia, wee slither, and a big chunky Southwest Europe, a bit of West Africa in there, and West Asia. There's that West Asia part again. Least squared method, Scottish at the top, English, German south, Orcadian. There's the Orcadian again, which is quite interesting. Irish, Utan. Yep. And then we have one more option, and it's a GEDROSIA. GEDROSIA. I like the name of that. Don't know why. Right. What one will we do in this one? We have. Have a look at this one. GEDROSIA K3. Jesus, what's this? West Eurasian and East Eurasian. Right, well, we can see primarily West Eurasian. Wow. Hungarian, Lithuanian. Jesus, 0.000. So it's like right there. Ukrainian, Bulgarian, Norwegian, Czech, Croatian, Estonian. You didn't don't get much from that one, like. Right, and then we got Neolithic, ancient Eurasia. Neolithic, the ancient Eurasia. Ancient Eurasia. What have we got? West European hunter-gatherer. That's the yellow part, big chunk. Then we've got the Natufian. Natufian. I think that could be over the Middle East somewhere. Rings a bell. A massive chunk of this Natufian, whatever that is. Ancestral North Eurasian, Central South Eurasian. So these parts are Eurasia. North and South. West European hunter-gatherer, big chunk. So guys, like I said, this is a lot more detailed. Oh, there's Hungary back at the top. Bit of Hungarian in there, but that's what I'm saying. I think the Scythians came from that area, that sort of Hungary and that part of the world. Well, Celts. I think Celts. Apparently, Celts originated in Hungary. But there's a couple of theories to that. I'm not too sure about that whole theory about Celts, the Celtic culture, coming from this place. I think the Celtic culture was probably developed nearer to the British Isles, probably on the British Isles, and then spread through Europe that way, east. Because the old story is that the Celtic culture spread west. But I'm not too sure about that. Not too sure about that. But they reckon the original Celts came from Hungary. That's where it all started. So we've got Hungary, Czech, English, Ukrainian, Scottish, Norwegian, Basque. We mix the Croatian, Norwegian, get the number down. Assyrian, Hungary, and Icelandic. They get closer, and they get even closer with Armenia, Greek, and Motala, whatever that is. Aye, so pretty interesting stuff. So there's definite heritage in Scottish people, Celtics, with Asia, Iberia, the Caucasus regions. So this is where all the farming first started as well. Animal husbandry began in these regions. Horse riding, horseback, because the Egyptians they never used horse and chariot until they came across the Northern Europeans. The Northern Europeans mastered the bow because they lived in forest. They were hunting forest-dwelling animals like the boar. So they mastered animal husbandry and the bow. And I think the downfall of a lot of civilizations like the Roman culture, the Egyptians, I think it comes down to these people as well. And what's interesting, like I said, the Scythians, this is one of the most precious Scottish documents. It's the Declaration of Arbroath. This is the original document here. This is what it looks like. 1320. But in this Declaration of Arbroath, it's a letter to the Pope telling the Pope that the Scots wanted their own country, apparently. It's kissing the Pope's feet. Anyway, there's a good part in this that people just overlook. This remember, guys, this is 1320, and I've spoke about British Israelism or Brit-Am or whatever it is. I've seen this in the past, and these people say that the lost tribes of Israel are connected to British people. Like there's people in Britain, not all of them, but there is some people in Britain that apparently are connected to these lost tribes. And it sounds, and I looked it up on Wikipedia, and it said that this is quite a new phenomenon, this British Israelism, or this theory that we're part of these tribes. But when you look at this document from 1320, guys, it's an ancient document, ancient, and it says here, Most Holy Father and Lord, we know, and from the chronicles and books of the ancients, we find that among other famous nations, our own, the Scots, have been graced with widespread renown. They journeyed from Greater Scythia by way of the Tyrrhenian Sea, or Tyrrhenian Sea, and the Pillars of Hercules, and dwelt for long course of time in Spain among the most savage tribes, but nowhere could they be subdued by any race, however barbarous. Thence they came 1200 years after the people of Israel crossed the Red Sea to their home in the west, where they still live today. So thence they came 12. They're talking about themselves. They, the Scythians. They journeyed from Great Scythia Thence they came 1200 years after the people of Israel crossed the Red Sea to their home in the west, where they still live today. And I was looking at it, guys. I was like, and it says here that the Britons, they first drove out. The Picts they utterly destroyed. And even though very often assailed by the Norwegians, the Danes, and the English, they took possession of that home with many victories and untold efforts. And as the historians of old time bear witness, they have held it free of all bondage ever since. In their kingdom there have reigned 113 kings of their own royal stock, the line unbroken, a single foreigner. So what they're saying here is that these people, the Scythians, came over, they conquered the original Britons, and these people were Celtic as well. The Britons were Celtic. The Welsh, the Scots. The Picts were Scots, Celts. So this appears to me that the people that Robert the Bruce claimed to be from the Scythians, they were invaders. The people we call ourselves Scots, but were we invaders? Or were we part of the original Britons that were here before these invaders come over? Because what I worked out, guys, is that when he says in this letter, where is it? Thence they came 1200 years after the people of Israel crossed the Red Sea to their home in the west, where they still live today. So, apparently, when the Assyrians attacked Israel, it was back in 720 BCE. Okay? So, when the Assyrians, it's that, like, he's either talking about the Exodus or when the lost tribes happened. I think it's the Assyrians, because the Exodus, that's 1250 BC. Anyway, I think he's talking about the Assyrians here, when the Assyrians kicked out the Israelis, and you got the lost tribes. And this happened apparently in 720 BCE. So if you 1200 years after 720 BCE, and it works out 500 AD. 500 AD. So did this tribe enter Britain in 500 AD? What other date? 500 AD. What else does that go with? That goes with the fall of Rome in Britain. Rome, the Roman Empire fell in Britain around 500 AD. It was a late 4th century. So a lot of these people that patriots that love this stuff, well, by the looks of it, William Wallace, Robert the Bruce, all these people were from tribes that were alien tribes. And the original Scots were the Picts and the Britons. The Picts never got completely destroyed. It says here the Picts, they utterly destroyed, but the Picts, they joined together with the Scots to form Scotland. So it's interesting. I'm gonna follow up, because I'm trying to do a chronological sort of date. I found out, like, in the year 1100 BC in the Middle East, there was massive droughts and famine. So you can see why maybe people from this part of the world moved to Northern Europe. I think Northern Europe was lush and green. So there could have been a natural disaster in the Middle East, including wars, rebellions, but I think there was a natural, like, global warming. There wasn't cars driving around back then, but there's evidence that there was a drought back in these days, back in the same time. So who knows that the Scots people are made up of these alien invaders from the Middle East. And these alien invaders from the Middle East, well, look what we have today. We've still got the same stuff going on. So this area that we're blowing up, and Israel that we created, are we just trying to take back what was ours when it was before the drought came, way back when? It's interesting stuff, guys. So people that say that Brits that claim they're from that part of the world is a new thing. British Israelism isn't a new thing. This is 1320. And these Scots, Robert the Bruce, they claim to be from Greater Scythia. And they reckon these Scythian tribes were part of the Israelis back in the day, Canaanites. So it's interesting. So people get nationalistic about their genetics, but who knows what's lurking about in there. Anyway, guys, I just want to share that with you. I'm going to look more into Skara Brae, because there was definitely Celtic people before 500 AD. And I think the Celtic culture developed in the UK and spread. And the reason it spreads is because I think in the UK there was probably natural disasters that pushed people out of Britain. Like maybe many ice ages pushed them further south into Spain and Portugal, and then once it warmed up again, they moved back up. So there's this displacement of people moving back and forth and mixing. It's interesting stuff, guys. Anyway, hope you have a great day, and I'll probably see you in another video soon, and it's probably going to be either about the Celts, the Beaker culture, Skara Brae, the Lost Tribes, see where that fits in, the Scythians, the Picts. The Picts were an amazing culture, by the way. Amazing. Anyway, guys, have a good day. See you later.